very good morning and welcome to our Rugby World Cup update brought to you from England. The ABSA Red Bus, ABSA member of Barclays, is parked once again outside of the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Stadium. But we're doing things a little bit differently this morning. We're starting outside because look how beautiful the Anish Kapoor sculpture, the orbit looks. It's all lit up and it's looking absolutely brilliant. It's just 3 days to go before South Africa take on New Zealand in the Rugby World Cup semi-finals. It'll be the 91st meeting between these two teams. South Africa have a winning percentage of 39. And while this contest on the field is made of legends, there's a rivalry that's absolutely legendary. Off of the field, what we've realized this week is that it's rather friendly, actually, especially when it comes to the meeting of the two coaches. Our camp correspondent, Simon Burke, who is following the South African team, he was at the team announcement yesterday.
Vaylen Kirtley had the luxury of having an unchanged starting 15 for the semi-final against New Zealand, and he has nothing but the utmost respect for his opposite number, Steve Hansen, even saying that he wants to buy him a beer.
Yeah, I don't want to go into much detail because it's probably between us, but we've started a tradition way back where first time I've lost I was very down, and he came over, and I think that's great about rugby. I didn't know Steve. Came over and brought me a beer and said, listen, just, I know how you feel, I know the pressure on you, and, just have a beer with me, and I really respect that. We've lost that game, and second game we played away, we were very close, and we've lost that game as well, and I didn't even want to go into the function, and what I respect of him, he came looking for me with another beer, and then gave it to me, and we start talking about his family and his wife, and we know we're under the same pressure. We're proud countries. I need to get to know his family, he's get to know my family, and I don't usually meet with coaches before games, but I think there's so much respect, and I've said to him, Steve, you know what? I can't wait the first day when I can bring you a beer, because the winning coach always bring the beer. So when we beat him at Ellis Park, it was only the once. I said, the first time we'll beat you, I'll bring you a case of beer. So what I really respect from Steve, he came after that game, took it like a man, said to me, I've been waiting for my beer. So we've got a tradition now, so I did give him a beer. So hopefully, Steve, on Saturday I can give him a beer and bring him a full case of beers.
And it's good to see that in this professional age, some things haven't gone from rugby. I'm Simon Burke, bringing you the latest from the Springbok camp.
Well, joining me now is a former player and a man that has been on this long journey with me, also a former Springbok Sevens international, Mac Messina. Good to have you here with us this morning. An unchanged team, not too much to speak about. People will be quite happy to see that. However, Heineke Meyer, hearing him say that the All Blacks is the best test team ever, shouldn't he be speaking up the Springboks ahead of the semi-final?
Yeah, it's just all about mind games as well, from him just making sure that he shifts the focus from his team, to the All Blacks, which I think is quite normal from any other coach. However, there's a huge tradition between the two teams, knowing very well that, they've just came a long way. And then they've met each other 3 times in this competition, and obviously, the Boks won twice. 95, we know what happened, and 1999, the Boks won that one, and in 2003, this is where now the Boks lost the game. So it's 2-1 for now, but they go a long way. But between the two coaches, Steve Hansen has won it 6 times and Heineke Meyer has won it once. So this tradition, let's hope it might really just turn now and favor the South African at this stage.
Are you quite confident? Because many South Africans, after seeing the two opposing manners in which these two teams actually made the semi-finals, are a little bit worried.
Well, I am worried, to be honest. Looking at the All Blacks, the way they played, last week, they're a very good team. They're probably one of the strongest team in the world at this stage. However, there's an element between these two teams when they play against each other. There's always a little bit of respect, and the way I see this game is like it can rather be very close or it can be a very high scoring game. Definitely sure, knowing very well that the All Blacks will definitely score, and then it's going to be up to the South African team whether they can be able to up their game and make sure that they do score tries, because it can go either way. But for now, I think it's going to be a very tight one, and I am worried because we're playing against the All Blacks.
All right, thank you very much. That's Mac Messina giving us his very honest opinion about the upcoming semi-final. All words, however, coming from the camp is that the team are confident and they are working with their team psychologist, Professor Peter Kruger. That's something that's going to play a very, very important role, what's actually happening in the players' heads. We'll have more for you live from London after this.
Media Monitor, the title says it all. Can we really afford more job losses at such a critical time in our economy? Join our panel of experts as they unpack and monitor all the leading and breaking news stories making waves in the print and social media platforms. It seems we don't have a famous son-in-law any longer. Levi, what do you say to this? An A-lister.
I'll leave this one to Levi. He's the romantic.
Watch Media Monitor with me, Alicia Jali, Sundays at 9 a.m. only on the SABC News Channel.
SABC brings to you Rugby World Cup 2015. Let's do this.
Welcome back. You're watching our Rugby World Cup update brought to you from London. We've been travelling around on our ABSA Red Bus, ABSA, a member of Barclays, and today it's at this beautiful venue, the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. Yesterday, in the rain and the cold weather, Mac and I were walking down Regent Street, a famous thoroughfare here in London, and we came across a very novel pop-up store that was selling vintage replica rugby shirts. Take a look at this.
We try to bring back to life some old vintage jersey in exactly the same cuts and the same materials that in the past, that the player used to wear in the past. And behind each one you have a famous story, a famous fact for the country.
Not only do they look like they come from the past, but they've also got a story attached to them.
It's quite simple. It's a heavy cotton, so it's all handmade in the south of France. And so handmade and with a heavy cotton like the player used to wear. It's really heavy and really strong, not as the shirts and the polo we have now, which is more lighter. The Springbok logo, it's the one from 1906, the first time the country were called Springboks during the first trip abroad, so in Europe against England and France in 1906. For our jersey are really strong, really heavy. It's difficult to play now with this one. We imagine that in the past, with wet or when it was raining, it was so complicated to play with. And nowadays, maybe the jersey was more lighter with new materials, and yeah, it's completely different.
Absolutely brilliant. Now, there's two things you have to do when you're in London. That's go and take a walk down Regent Street. You never know what you can find. And then go and visit the West End. Thanks to Delphon Mackintosh Theatres, we got the opportunity to visit the over 110-year-old playhouse. That is the Noel Coward Theatre. And we got the opportunity to chat to the CEO of the Society of London Theatre. They're an organisation that has been promoting London's theatre and the West End for over 100 years now.
Every single night it is different because the audience reacts in a different way. The dynamic on stage is different every night. And it's quite interesting, you know, others can talk about their own industries, but obviously the music industry has been through this huge change where actually going to see music live has become the thing to do. We were around 14.5 million attendances last year, and we'll be above that, I think, this year, so which is quite extraordinary. And I think there's something, you know, about theatre, it does continually reinvent itself. There's something new all the time. And I think that's what keeps it fresh, and people want to keep coming to see things. And I always say this, but you know, London theatre has this amazing variety. So if you're a family and want to come and see the big blockbuster musical, we've got that. If you like serious drama, we've got that. You know, we've got stars from around the world who come here to London to appear on these very famous stages. And most famous playwright Atul Fugard, who of course is, you know, his work is performed here. In fact, there's been a play of his in the West End just this summer at the Trafalgar Studios. So, you know, the great thing about London as a place, forget about theatre for a minute, you know, London is this melting pot of cultures. There was some report recently that, you know, over 150 languages are spoken in just a few miles here in London.
How would you describe the London West End theatre culture?
Dynamic, different, changing. actually very exciting is probably what I'd say more than anything.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. And at that Noel Coward Theatre at the moment, they've got a play called Photograph 51, where the lead actually is Nicole Kidman. She makes her return to the West End. So it really is a real treat to go and just see some of the famous names and the famous plays that are currently running on the West End. All right, let's bring you back to the Rugby World Cup, and of course the big semi-final that's happening this week. And kickoff in South Africa is going to be at 5 o'clock. You'll be able to watch it live on SABC too. It's the Springboks up against New Zealand for a place in the final. There's so much history between these two teams. And how does one of the star Springbok players feel about all that history and the upcoming clash? The last year's Player of the Year, Dwayne Vermeulen, tells us more.
South Africa get the shove on. The penalty might come here. It's just being held at the back there. Wales have to be stout. Vermeulen picks up and goes, slips it away to Fourie du Preez, and du Preez for the try. And South Africa's captain may have put them into the quarter-final semi-finals of the World Cup.
Catching a little bit of air, and that backflip just sublime from South Africa's good number 8, Dwayne Vermeulen.
It's actually weird. It wasn't a move that we planned the whole week. We said the blind will be open and I must just pick and go. And we didn't actually plan it out to be that, or to work out like that, you know, to be as perfect and getting your 5 points. But yeah, the move, the pop behind the back, I have absolutely no clue how I did it, and it just didn't go through my mind. I think it just happened, and in a natural way, and I was lucky Fourie was in the right spot at the right time.
It was 8-9 to the try line, and South Africa are in front.
Yeah, nice to be part of this World Cup campaign, and you know, the match coming up against the All Blacks, world number 1, and you know, that's the game everyone wants to play. So you watched it in '95. Back in South Africa, I watched it on the telly, but you know, for the Boks lifting the trophy there was amazing, and I always thought you wanted to be a part of something special like that. So yeah, we've got our chance, and we just need to take that. You kind of like to be the underdog. If you're number 1, in a way you lose yourself out there, and you know, there's a small line between confidence and arrogance, and I think as South Africans we sometimes don't find that line too often. But yeah, it's great to be an underdog, and you know, we coming up against the world number 1. So I think McCaw has almost played 150 tests now. So it is amazing to go up against guys like that that you respect quite a lot. You play them in Super Rugby, also here week in, week out, and they are well-rounded back row, and it's definitely going to be a tough one for us this coming weekend.
And in that quarterfinal, just reliving some of those moments, we got a taste of Dwayne Vermeulen, the Thor, back at his best, and we look forward to some more moments of absolute brilliance and genius between himself and the captain, Fourie du Preez, as well as the entire Springbok team come Saturday. Do join us for our Friday edition of the Rugby World Cup update, brought to you live from London on our ABSA Red Bus. Until then, goodbye.
Oh, Vaylen, thank you so much.